The sky was gone. Treetops and hills and the stars, especially the stars. Fog devoured the small town. Neither of the two tall chimneys could be seen rising up above the factory, which stood by the river. It was the 20th day of October, 1880. The dog was the first to sense them. Something had gotten into the pug, and the girl could barely keep up. When they reached Pine Street Square, young Jacqueline Stiles, or Jack as she was known around town, wondered if the small dog would pull her right out into the river. Through the fog, a dull amber glow caught Jack's attention. It seemed to be floating. The girl extended her arm, slowly, and then the light was gone. "Impossible," said Jack. Fetch tilted his head as if to say, "Nothing is impossible," as if to say, "But I saw it too." Jack made Fetch promise not to mention what they had seen to the old man. "Shh. Only time he runs is when he's dreaming of cats," chuckled Archibald Raymond as Fetch rolled onto his back, legs sticking straight up. Jack didn't say what she was thinking. "Tomorrow," she said. The old man nodded before closing the door. Jack had long wanted to work, and Archibald promised her an introduction with Gaffer James Lear, the most accomplished glassblower in Corning. The next morning, as Archibald waited in the square, a boy about 12 played with a hoopstick, running in small circles, his eyes bright, his laugh small and faint. Something about the boy felt familiar, though the old man had chosen long ago to forget. Inside the factory, a man in a suit watched James Lear work with molten glass. Several shop boys and girls were busy with various chores. "Do you see it?" Jack pointed at the furnace, for she saw the glow from the night before, only brighter. Archibald saw something Jack did not. The bright-eyed boy from the square, gathering a gob of molten glass from the furnace, then playfully swinging the long steel blowpipe, first left, then right, a pendulum of light. The shop boy halted the motion overhead, lips pressed to the cool metal, cheeks blossoming full. At the other end of the long pipe, a small glass bubble emerged. After speaking with James Lear, Archibald returned. "That fancy man," said Archibald, "works for the inventor Thomas Edison." "The Wizard of Menlo Park?" Jack's eyes were wide. "James has to make the special bubbles for Mr. Edison's incandescent lamps." "Whoa," said Jack. "James wants you back tomorrow. No time today to train you." Jack imagined making glass bubbles. She imagined Edison himself coming to town, thanking her personally. That evening, when Jack showed up to take Fetch for his walk, Archibald opened the door before she even knocked. "No time for lollygagging," the old man said, handing Jack the leash and hurrying out the door. In the square, they found the golden glow of light floating. Archibald extended a trembling arm, but paused, certain he heard the faint laugh of a boy. Another light appeared in the distance, across the river, both glowing brighter, before turning off completely. When they got back to Archibald's house, the old man pulled a book from a shelf, then fell into his chair. "You saw?" he asked, and Jack nodded. "Wasn't much older than you," said Archibald. "First time I saw him." Looking down at the book, he added, "Chased the last one I saw, out behind the livery only." "Did it get you?" asked Jack. Archibald leaned back and crossed his arms. "Well, I'm here, ain't I? I mean, most of me anyway." He shook his head, thumbing through a few pages of the book. "No, it didn't get me," he chuckled. "When I rounded that corner, what I saw was this. What I saw was him," said Archibald. Over the next few days, they saw mysterious lights in shop windows, on rooftops and fields, lights on the tall smokestack, lights above storage shacks outside the glass works, lights across the river. They saw strangers, too, who had a glow, a shimmery shine, strolling the streets in silence. "My job," said Jack one evening, "is to blow air through one end of the pipe, and it gets trapped in the glass at the other end." The old man grunted. "My breath is inside the bubbles where the light will be. I'll be part of those lights all across the country, the world even." "You don't say," muttered Archibald. Half hearing the words, he was busy searching for a certain mysterious boy. The next evening, Jack worked a small pump behind her home. cold water pouring onto her dark hands when she saw a strange glow coming from the thin space between her house and the Walkers. Jack crept quietly. She was being silly, afraid of the dark. It was probably just Mr. Walker looking for Pounce. You wouldn't think a cat that round could get into such trouble, but Pounce was always climbing into places he couldn't climb out of. Pausing at the corner, Jack stretched her neck slowly. She couldn't believe her eyes. "Hello?" said Jack, and the strange boy in the light stopped, his eyes burning brightly. And then there was darkness. "It was him," said Jack that evening, as they widened their search. "The boy in the drawing." Archibald had no words. "I think we should call them the Gathers," added Jack. "The Gathers," Archibald echoed softly. Fetch cocked his head as if he, too, was considering the name. "That's what they remind me of," said Jack. "Golden glowing light, like glass when it comes out of the furnace." "The Gathers," said Archibald, his voice more full. "Yes," he smiled. "The Gathers," he told the dog. "Yep," said Fetch. "Yep. The moment Jack closed the front door, her mother handed her a small pumpkin into which she had carved a monstrous face. "Try not to lose your head." Jack had completely forgotten about her All Hallows costume. She couldn't tell her mother she wished she could be a child of light, a gather. "Thank you," she said. "It's perfect." The next evening, Jack's mother and father guided her to the square where everyone gathered to listen to the All Hallows Eve story. The moment the storyteller began, Jack recognized the voice. "We call them the Gathers," said Archibald. "Boys, men, entire families bound together by the flame, by the fire, by the light they help create." Jack felt a warm hand on her left arm, another on her right shoulder. But the warmth was inside her, too. She filled with it as if filling with light. A soft voice whispered, "Share the light," and the warmth inside her grew. Jack gasped. It was not her mother's voice. "Be the light," the voice said. Jack removed the pumpkin head and held it under her arm. Just ahead, away from where she stood, her parents watched Archibald tell his story. "The Gathers," whispered Jack, searching the crowd. "Not everyone sees them," said Archibald. "Just the folks that are looking, the folks that believe, the special ones that want to share the light." Jack gasped when she saw a glow in those old eyes. "Share the light," said Archibald, and the crowd said, "Share the light." "Be the light," said the old man, his eyes sparkling brightly as he smiled at Jack, and the crowd said, "Be the light." And then the lights went